Today we're talking to Bruno Nwogu. I wanted to have you on. Bruno, if you guys don't know, is one of Nigeria's top affiliate marketers. He's been grinding his way up over the last 300 days, 400 days. He's going to tell his story here. And I wanted to get him on because, well, you're starting from absolutely nothing. I really want to dig in. He's starting from absolutely nothing. He's mastering copywriting in a way that I've only really seen other experts talk and write in a way like this. So I come on, let's talk. This is why I was so excited to see Bruno. So let's get him on here and let's talk about Bruno's journey. Bruno, good to talk with you, man.
All right, Alex. Really, really great to be here. It's really a privilege because if you had asked me 300 days, 365 days ago, if I'd even know who Alex Berman is, I've connected with all these great guys, and I'm like, I have no idea. Like I didn't even know how to. In fact, one of my favorite things to do was always to search how to make money online, and all what I was seeing was very, very terrible. Like I'd go online, I'd be hit with ads. They'll tell you this, but nothing was ever practical. And so everything began for me when COVID started, right? So prior to then, I was working a job in somewhere on the island. So the way it is in Lagos is there's what we call Lagos Island, and then there's the mainland. So I live on the mainland, and I would commute every day to the island. Now the job I was working was about less than $100. That was my payment per month, and it was such that after you deduct the transport, all right, how much I was spending on transport, the cost was about that's what I would take home was less than $20 or thereabout. So I was taking less than $20 home every day, every month for work.
You're the dollar a day. You were making $50 a month.
No, I was making less than $100 a month, and then I
Yep.
was taking less about $20 a month home.
So fast forward now, and we'll go back and tell the whole story. But so where did you go? So you're making less than 100 a month, and now where are you right now?
Well, as of last month, I was making well over $2,000 a month.
From 100 a month to $2,000 a month. This is what we're in the game for, Bruno. Can you tell your story? What was the mindset? What got you from that $100 a month to 2,000 a month?
Okay, so you see, I tell some of my students that the speed of a man is determined by two things, right? What he's pursuing and what is pursuing him, or what's chasing him. So it's determined by what he is chasing or what is chasing him. And so where everything changed for me was July 5th. That was around 7:33 a.m. or 7:13 a.m. It was on a Sunday morning. And I remember the exact day because of what happened that day. So what happened? I was on my way to work, church rather. So I was heading to church, and it was very early in the morning, sometime around this time because it's about 6:36 a.m. here. All right, so it was very early in the morning, and I was in a public transport. So the way the public transport is the buses pick people along the way that are heading the same direction. So while the bus stopped to drop certain passengers, I was by the window, and so because I was by the window, I decided to use my phone. I saw I'm like, okay, it was an iPhone 7. So I was like, let me just use the iPhone 7 to check Twitter, check and all those stuff. And it happened like in a flash, right? What I knew was someone just came from the window and pulled my phone from my hands. Like literally, it was crazy. I was literally where there was like a struggle between I and the thief. So he snatched the phone from my hand, and in a matter of seconds, minutes, he was gone already. And it was really dark. I couldn't come down to pursue him, so I just let it go because I don't know the area. I don't know if they were like hoodlums and thugs and stuff like that. So I had to let it go. So that was the moment. It was during that period I now had to ask myself that, Bruno, you don't have, because as at this time talking to you this July, I had not been going to work again since April because of the lockdown. We had to all stay at home. All right, the government issued a lockdown. So it was at this point I had to ask myself. I said, Bruno, see, what are you going to do right now? Like you need money now. So what are you going to? You don't have a job. Your job is paying you. Your job was paying you shit, right? It wasn't worth it. What are you going to do now? And to be honest, at that moment, I had no idea. I had no idea. So it was then few days later, a friend of mine, my roommate was like, "Hey Bruno, there's this stuff my one of our friend introduced me to. It's about online marketing and everything." Prior to then, Alex, I hated the word marketing. I hated selling. Literally, because the first major experience I had selling was very, 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 very terrible. What happened? So, my church pastor recruited some of us to help sell his newspaper. And while I was there, I remember, there was a girl there and she was selling it so well. Everybody was buying from her. I would walk on the road. The sun was scorching. I was sweaty. It was a hellish experience. I was like, there's no way I'm going to do this. There's no way I'm going to always be in the sun trying to get no, 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 no. Like people weren't even buying. If they were buying because they probably pitied me and all that. I was like, no, 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 I don't want this at all. And so that was my experience. So every time I heard about sales, marketing, or any of that stuff, I'm like, nope, not for me. So coming from that background, and then I'm like, so I still have to do marketing. I use that way you're going to tell me that I'll still have to try to make people buy stuff and not. And but the difference now was that in between those years when I had that terrible experience and now was that something had changed and it was the mindset. So what do I mean? I read a book by Robert Cialdini called Influence, Psychology of Persuasion. And in that book, it just revolutionized my mindset about influence, persuasion, and how it worked. And then I just realized that, oh, this thing isn't as difficult as I thought it was. You're not getting to people to do what they don't want to do. You have to find out what people want, all right, and align what you are offering to what they want in such a way that it becomes their choice, all right. And then, over the years before this incident happened, that's the robbery, the thief taking my phone. I'd been, practicing it a bit. So when it was time to start marketing, I was like, okay, I'm just going to give this a shot, right? I'm just going to give it a shot. What's the worst that can happen? I'm already down. I don't have money, right? So it's either I had two options. Either I use the last money I had to get this course and probably just try if it works, or I will just keep spending the money and then when it finishes. I'll go back to waiting for whatever miracle I was expecting. So I got the course. It was about, the course was about the same salary they were paying me a month. All right. So it was like a whole month salary I used to get that course. And I was like, okay, let's see how it goes. And then I started listening. And then one of the things that happened was that it just dawned on me that, man, I can do this thing actually. Like it's not as difficult as I thought. And so the first money I ever made online was 2,250 naira. In dollar rates, that would be about $5. That's how much I made online. And I made it from using my phone on WhatsApp. No major, and it was at that moment it just clicked on me that, fam, this is easy. And it wasn't just the amount I made, it was the fact that I did it without having to be in an office. I did it without having needing a boss. I did it on my own. It was the moment I tasted freedom and I was like, I don't think I'm ever going back to that kind of life again, right? I mean, so the freedom for me was the that desire to be free, to have time to do what I want, work where I want, be live the kind of life I wanted, and that was how everything really changed. That's the story between where I was to where I am now.
What was the incredible story, by the way? Game changer, I think, super inspirational. What was the skill acquisition like? Meaning, you're starting from zero. How are you learning copywriting? How are you learning how to write in a way? Because it's mostly Twitter, right? Or you were selling on WhatsApp. How are you learning to write in a way that's actually getting people to buy?
Okay, so one of the things, part of the course, right, had a copywriting segment in it. So a lot of things I do, I just watch people who are doing very well there, and then I learn to do the same thing. It's as simple. One of the things that I think stood me out because I don't know, right? Sometimes I feel like I'm just lucky. That's how it feels because it's too easy. I'm like it's not. I don't want to say it's too easy, but you get what I mean. It comes really natural at the point, and I'm like, other people don't get it, right? Like this is literally how this thing works. But for a lot of people, it's not like that. I'm like, okay, no problem. So I'm a very practical person. If you tell me right now that I could fly, and you have a course that teaches me how to fly, probably from the first few videos I'm going to watch, anything you tell me to do, I'm probably going to try it at first. That's how I am. And that's one of the things that really, really changed because when I was watching that video, when I was watching the course, I was literally practicing as the instructor was teaching, and the person you already know him, Toyo Motosho, it was his course I got. All right, it was called the 72-hour income generator. It teaches you how to start a business from scratch with just your ATM card, internet connection, laptop, and that was what I started with. So he had different courses. He had both Facebook advertising, he had WhatsApp marketing, he had email marketing, a bit of it, he had copywriting. So while I was going through it, I understood the concept, the general idea of it, right? Or already understanding because for me it wasn't just about the ability to write copy very well. And honestly, I don't still think I'm a great copywriter. I just think I'm pretty decent. My super secret, or will I say my secret, or my super skill will be having to understand how people think, right? It's about people because marketing is about people, selling is about people. And if you do not fundamentally understand how people think and how they process information, how they reason, right, it's going to be difficult for you to persuade them to do the things that you'd want them to do. So it's fundamentally for me about understanding people. So that's why when I'm reading copy, when I'm practicing copywriting, it's literally just getting to see how do people react to this, why did they react to this more than this, and stuff like that. So I took the course and it was very practical. So I kept writing, I kept practicing. And one of the things about me is that I'm not afraid to fail, man. Right? I try it and fail and get up again. There's so much to do. So why so cover that? That's been my philosophy, and that's how I actually learned what I did now. Practiced, took it
Is
and
there
practiced it.
is there any difference between selling to Nigerians and selling to a worldwide audience?
Well, I would think so. But from I would say personally for me, right? Um, I don't think there's so much difference because people are generally the same, except in terms of language, culture. But it's generally the same because they're Nigerians that are selling to worldwide audience. So it's understanding the culture, all right, understanding how to speak their language. All right. If you understand that perfectly, then you'll be able to sell to them. But there isn't so much.
Is this something that you've studied? Because I see you're referring to like the global culture. You call yourself the Einstein of marketing for one. Like there's a lot of this like subtle stuff. Have you been watching like Friends? Like what do you do? How do you get ingratiated into the global culture?
Okay, so one of the things I do a lot is I read a whole lot, right? From Seth Godin's marketing books to a whole lot of I consume a whole lot of content in terms of marketing related stuff. Um, I can't count how many books I've read between when I started to right now, in terms of marketing, in terms of sales. I mean, if you get to my desk, I'll have showed you this. My laptop is literally on a couple of books. That's why it's high enough. Dennis taught me to elevate the stand of the laptop and all that. So I'll have showed you all the books I've been reading. I got in contact with Sabri Subi's book, Sell Like Crazy, beautiful stuff. And I spend a whole lot of time reading books, audio books, just immersing myself because most of these writers are foreign to us here in Nigeria, so they speak from their culture. So in reading and listening to them, you get to understand their culture, where they are speaking from, and then combining with what I already know from interacting with Nigerians. So that's how I get the broad view of marketing and the global culture per se.
You're naming a few people, so let's say them again. So it's Toyino. Who's your mentor? Toyino.
Tony
What's his last name?
Omotosho. I have
Toyino Motosho.
Yes, Omotosho. That's how it's pronounced basically.
He is on
Yeah,
Twitter.
he's on
I
Twitter.
follow him as well. You can get him. Hopefully, we'll link down below. Let's do like a Bruno's recommended list. All right, Toyin a Moto show.
Yes,
You're following Dennis
yeah, of
Yu. You're
course. Tennis,
following.
you, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
Then Ronald in Zimora. Ronald in Zimora.
Ronat and Zamora.
Yes, Ronald
Um,
Nzimora. Ronald in Zimora.
okay.
Those are my my go-to people. Those three people are people I consider mentors. I listen to them. I take what they say. You know, it helps my marketing and my those the two of them especially. All right, Tony and Ronald are the reasons why I'm here where I am today. And I can't even take that away because those guys literally helped me. They put me. Ronald was the f- Ronald was the first person to interview me live on a YouTube session, and it changed literally everything for me. So I literally owe everything to those two men. And then I got the opportunity to meet Dennis, you, and then connect to you. So I'm grateful for all these people. So these are my top three lists of people that I listen to. I reach out, I chat with Dennis, I ask him questions, and it's been amazing.
How do you deal with pricing? So, for instance, at some point, you thought that $100 a month was a great rate, right? Like you accepted that
Yeah.
as your job.
hmm
Now you're making 2,000. What's changed throughout that process, like mindset wise?
Oh,
Would you take 100 a month now?
that's an incredible question because you know, and I'll say that I heard something from you. I read something from you that also shifted my mind. So as you know, $200 a month is a big salary here, or it's an okay salary. Let's put it like that because, but if you're earning $200 a month here, you are people will look at you like you're trying now, that kind of thing. You get because $200 a month is about 108,000 naira. That's already six figures, right? So that's already six figures here in Nigeria, and because of that, it was it's difficult to ask people to pay for a $200 course, right? However, having interacted with both people outside, interacted on a global culture outside my outside Nigeria and its payment system, I realized that where I was before was really 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 low, and then getting to experience that sudden dramatic shift in income by certain skills, I realized that okay, then there are a couple of things that I probably need to know. So to answer your question, there has been a lot of mindset shifts, but I ain't gonna lie to you, right? Um, there's still a there's still a subtle feeling of am I pricing too much? Am I charging too much? I remember Dennis tweeting and saying that low prices is a result of self-esteem, and that is actually true. All right, that's actually true. I remember when I said that, you know what, the first so after doing this for a while, you begin to get confident because literally I've had people who came to me, they got the cost too, but they were struggling. So part of the things that I knew intuitively to do, all right, I taught them, and a good number of them are doing close to the same amount I'm doing monthly. In fact, I have one of them who's doing so well. He's pulling in as much as $1,000 a week from affiliate marketing. It's someone I shared the same thing. I taught him and everything, and he's doing so well. Like I'm super proud of him whenever I see what he's doing. So but in that period, there's still always going to be a mental block where you feel like, oh, I've done this, but I still can't charge people for this because it feels like I'm charging too much. But having interacted with your content, Dennis, I realized that it's not really about charging too much. In fact, it's always a self-esteem issue. As long as you can deliver on the promises that you're making, right? And the promise outweighs the cost, then it's not too much. It's a perception issue. So it's either the people you're talking to don't perceive the value as worth it, or you don't think you can charge that amount. So really, it's been interacting with foreign audiences, foreign creators like you and Dennis that has changed my mindset about pricing. I'm not even gonna credit that to anybody else because I saw you tweet something. You're like, what you're charging $200 a month for to do in your country are what people would pay you $2,000 a month for. And I'm like, There's no way anybody is going to pay me $2,000 to actually do this. Is so mundane, and you're like, this is what they will pay because over there, people can easily $200. If you tell someone your product or service is $200, it's they're going to probably look down on you like, okay, it's below their their income range and all that, way below it. So it was hearing that, seeing that, and constantly interacting with people like that that gave me that thinking that, fam, you need to change your pricing. And that's what I did.
That's the main thing I that's the main thing I wanna hammer home because I was just at we just did an interview with the CEO of it was a major cybersecurity firm in India, and, like, a week before, as part of American English, we talked to an agency in, like, 2 cities over. That agency was charging $500 a website. This guy had a multinational corporation working with Google, like, also doing software. The only difference, like, they're both Indians, they're both in the same area, they're both selling the same thing.
Hmm.
Literally via the same methods, cold call and cold email. It's just one guy decided to charge enterprise rates, and the other one is happy accepting 500. That's the only difference. It's not the English skills aren't different, the sales skills aren't different. It's just that.
Wow. So what was it? What happened? You were trying to say something like the only difference was the price they were charging. Interesting.
That's all it is.
Interesting.
Literally the only difference. So if you tell me that your copywriting service is 2,000 a month, I'll be like, okay. If you tell me it's $20 a month, I will also be like, oh, all right, cool. Tell me it's 5,000. It's the same thing. You're the one who sets the bar.
True. Very true. Very, very true. And it can be a whole lot for someone who is coming from a place where you are earning. Well, if someone pays you $200 a month, you just probably cross your leg and feel like, I've made enough money for the month. Let's look at something else. That's basically what you're going to do because um, it's a whole lot. Like Dennis would say, $200 seems like a whole lot of money. But if you stay in this space long enough and you get to interact with people like you, Dennis, and all the stuff who are doing, crazy stuff on Twitter, you just realize that, fam, I made 1 million naira. I made my first million naira in matter of one less than a month. But that's $2,000 to somebody else, right? That's something they would probably make by the side and all that. But over here, everybody's looking at.
You tweeted, dude. You tweeted something that I thought was so interesting because when you talk about it, you're like, I made my first million naira in a month, but it's also only $1 million. Like you tweeted this earlier, and you were saying that you want to start thinking about it in USD because then you're actually feeling what it is.
Exactly.
Because I think you can trick yourself by thinking it's a million naira. My co-founder Robert in Romania also the same. He hit a million whatever lei or something. I don't know exactly their currency, but he hit a million lei and it was like $14,000. And I was like, bro, let's make $1 million. Like, what are you doing?
So exactly. So you're getting my point, right? If you keep looking at it like, oh, I made a million naira, and you're gonna be feeling fly, like, oh, and you just hear that that's just $2,000, and you're like literally, it's just $2,000. So, like I said, I converted to USD to keep myself humble because if you're in Nigeria and you're in your circle, people are gonna look at you like, oh my god, this is some super great guy, and this some fam. I'm literally just hustling my way and all that. But I'm thankful for where I am, and for the fact that the internet has done something that I didn't even consider possible. Do you know, Alex, that as I'm talking to you today, if you take a walk around, the streets of Lagos, because Lagos is like the Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, Enugu. These are like the top cities, but Lagos is where you want your business to be per se. If you take a walk around the streets, just do like a random survey and ask people that, do you know how to make money on your phone? Let's make it super simple. If you say, do you know how to make money on the internet, they're probably going to think it's illegal, scams, and all that. But if you say, do you know how to make money using your phone? I could bet that I am willing to guess that over 80% of people will have no idea on how to do that. They let you know that the penetration of these skills is still very, very, early. It's not grassroots stage so that you can walk and people like, oh, sure, I know. Because a lot of people still don't know it's possible. Like if I run an ad, I'm running an ad on YouTube, on Instagram, and I'm targeting Nigerians, and when people hear, they're like, it's a lie. How you go make? Because honestly, and I don't blame them because things are really, really bad for a lot of people. All right. And I totally understand that. And like I said, if I saw an ad that told me that I would make 1 million a month, I would ignore it. Because what the course was saying I would do was that I would get to make 400K to 750K a month, which is roughly about 1,000 to $1,500 a month. And it was life changing money for me. Like if I kept earning that alone, I'll probably, in my mind, I don't think I'll have any problem again. So when I started, my goal was to earn 200,000 naira, which is less than about $400 a month. That was literally my goal, and I started in July. So I was saying that if by the end of the year I had made at least 1 million in revenue from this course and the practicing of it, I'll consider myself super duper successful. And then I did it in 1 month. I knew that the sky was literally it was literally the starting point. I remember hitting my friend. I was like, Daniel, bro, I just made 1 million from this thing. And then I knew that I don't think I'm ever going back to this, going back from this.
There's two, yeah, dude. There's two major things that have changed. One is people in your country and in India too. Like ever since like 2016, 2017, in India at least, there's been hyper fast internet cell phone towers everywhere. I don't know when that came to Nigeria,
Well,
but it sounds like you guys at least have cell phones.
of course, we do have cell phones. I mean,
Yeah.
the smart. I can't remember the data, but the smartphone penetration in Nigeria has actually increased. I mean, I would say 5 years ago, it was very, very network generally was really slow. Thinking of having Zoom meetings and all that stuff, it was a very far thought. I can tell you that. And COVID, increased a lot of things, right? I remember during COVID, they were laying fiber optic cables, right? Across the nation because, of course, there'll be more data consumption. So it really increased a lot of things. But I don't have the statistics, but I know that I read it somewhere whether it had increased by 18 to 22%. But the point is that a lot more people are on the internet now, and the smartphone penetration has greatly increased in a few months. Then, if you now compare that with the past 5 years, it is a whole lot, a whole lot
So more people than ever are using
more
smartphones
people.
in countries all over the world. And then the second thing that happened is the quality of the work has increased
Exactly.
phenomenally. Because I know as an American, the reason why people like to outsource to countries, what they used to say is it's cheaper, but it's cheaper and it's lower quality.
Mm,
What's happened recently that I'm seeing, like last 3 years, maybe even like the last 2 years, is the international work quality has gotten to the point that it's equal to American quality, almost across the board.
yes.
It's very hard to find somebody now in Nigeria, in somewhere in South America, in India that's worse than an American. Sometimes you're going to have to coach them a little bit.
Yeah.
Like maybe a designer has a different
Hmm.
aesthetic, and you have to show them like some examples. But then they're there and they're trained up, and it's exactly the same. And so people don't realize that. And so if your quality is the exact same as an American's quality, what is keeping the American salary up at
It's
that
the
point?
mindset, honestly. It's the mindset. Because I'll tell people that it's still, and sometimes when we say this, it makes us sound very, very like motivational speaking and all that stuff. But it's literally the mindset. It's literally like, why do I think that I can't charge someone if I have the results and I have the results where I have shown you simple things you can do. All right. I literally released a book. I mean, that documents everything. And I mean, I was selling it at, I mean, the pre-order price was somewhere above just $10, or let's say $11, right, in dollars, and that's the pre-order. And you see, had people who were saying that it was too not too expensive, but people were telling me that the price that they would love to get it. But if I hadn't interacted with you and your content, and then also Dennis, I'll have probably budged. I'll have said, okay, let me do it at a lower price. But I said, no, man, this thing actually is. And plus, I have an international audience in mind. So um, if I put it at $10, it's probably going to be seen as worth less. All right. So I'm like, okay, right now, I probably think I'll put it at $35. All right. That's the other price now. And let's see how it goes from there, basically. because there's no difference. Plus, what happens? The worst that can happen is that people won't buy, right? But if somebody actually does buy, it validates the point. And I've been getting one.
The way I'd be thinking if I were you, if you want to know how I would take you from 2 to 20,000,
Please,
to get to
I want to
20,000 a month
know
from there.
that.
Okay. So what I would do now is save up enough money to support yourself for a year. You were saying it's $200 to $400 a month. I'm assuming you have enough or you're about to have enough.
Yeah, I'm about to.
At that point,
Mhm.
just flip the switch and start charging American rates and figure it out later. So for instance, yeah, $45 ebook. That's I can't even think of 45, bro. When we launched, what did we just launch? LinkedIn Inbox. LinkedIn Inbox was 55 at the base or 65. And then it's going up to 75, 85. Inbox was one of our cheapest ones, 85, $95. Our courses, 250. This course, American English, is only cheap because I want it to be accessible. But my version of cheap was $49.
Exactly.
So that's what I would do if I were you. Like de-risk your entire life, pretend like you're already retired for a year, and now charge 10x more, 20x more, because it doesn't matter if you don't make any sales for the next 6 months
True,
while you're figuring this out.
true.
And then by the end of those 6 months, now you're making 10, 20,000 a month.
That's incredible. I am definitely going to do that. Definitely. Definitely. Because you see, just like you said, I was telling a friend of mine that um and it's a poverty mindset. And when I say this, before I to be honest, Nigeria is poor. We're not trying to insult the country. We're just stating the fact. It is poor. The average person here, there's a 41% unemployment rate. People are living on less than $1 a day, right? The people are poor, right? And that's why when you're coming from such a place, you can't afford to go 6 months without receiving anything, right? And so that's why it's difficult for a lot of them because if they don't make a sale, if they don't make, probably that dollar a day, they're already fidgeting, right? Because they don't have any other option. And that's why I think it's the luxury of also of having some money to fall back on, right? Because you can afford to take that long route where you're not getting the kind of quality services you are. But when you eventually do, it covers up a lot of things. So that mindset, it's a lot of mental reframing, re-engineering. And that's why one of the first thing I did in one of the courses I created for just a couple of people was I had to go back into the mindset and then change a lot of things. It's like, how a plumber comes, he fixes it, changes the pipes so that everything can flow smoothly. That's exactly what that's exactly what needs to be done for a lot of people most of the time. It's always in the head. And once you can fix that for them, everything changes. And thank you for that. Thank you for your tweets too.
Amazing.
I wonder how you do them, by the way.
I just riff hard. I plug in. It's the same. Actually, you say sales is easy. The reason why it's easy is because you're guided by the universe. Like you can try to overthink it, but what I find is if you just kind of sit there and just riff hard,
Hmm.
eventually you find whatever it is,
Yeah,
and then you can keep going.
yeah,
And sales becomes easy. Same with American English. Like when I think about how to sell this, I just chill, and then jokes come or memes come, and then I just allow them to flow through. That's all it is.
true, true. I see a lot of stuff you do, and I'm like, okay, I like what this guy does. I like how he promotes his stuff, and I definitely do copy a whole lot of what you do. Trust me.
That's all it is. It's some people are pretend to be against copying and then will copy other people. I'm just, like I think it's whatever, bro. If you see somebody doing something you like, make your own version of it.
It's
And if they're not flattered, they're the ones who are wrong.
yeah,
Because if it is about the mission, right? If it is about the mission and it's about changing lives, then you should want as many lives changed as possible. I just got off the phone. It was this kid in Pakistan who had set up this agency called X40 Marketing. Ours is X27 Marketing,
mm-hmm.
and he did it based on our YouTube videos, and he was happy too. I think he was over 2,000 a month from same exact story, like 150 a month to now 2,000 plus from his agency. And part of me could have been like, oh dude, I'm gonna sue you, you stole my brand and everything. But the right reaction is, this is friggin' killer, dude. He's rich now. Like that's so cool.
True, right? I heard somewhere say that imitation is the comment you pay to greatness. It's like flattery for greatness. When you see people copy you, it means that you're doing something good.
100%. All right, Bruno, where should people go to check you out online?
I mean, they could hit me up on Twitter. That's like literally my home, right? Bruno underscore Nwogu. And they should, follow me. I'll be there to answer the questions, hit me up in the DMs. That's literally where I live. That's my home before I begin to branch into other social networks. But I'm here on Twitter. And I'll always be on.
Awesome. Thanks for being here. This was incredible.
Thanks for having me, Alex.